So I'll be honest with you guys, I've actually read a lot of books. As you can see back here, I have books on the floor because I haven't bought a shelf just yet, but I've read a lot of books. And it's not to say that when you read a lot of books, it's not like you remember everything you actually read, but usually there are 1 to 2 great ideas in every single book I've read so far. And sometimes every now and then you find a book that's just complete trash. But for the most part, you will rarely find a book that's just filled with more than 5 great ideas unless you're actually brand new to read it in a sense. And when you are brand new, you learn so much from one book that you can't just you can't help yourself, okay? But for the most part in this video, these are 5 books that had a big impact in my life. And I just don't wish that I basically read them sooner, but I wish I actually started to apply the information in them a lot sooner in my life. Because, information without application is nothing. And some of these books, it's not like they actually forced me to take action or the author convinced me to take action, but it was like slowly but surely by reading so many other books, it was basically working my mind and working my mind. So when I actually found the quote for the last time, I just basically had to take action at that point. And that's why these books are so memorable when it comes to my life, okay? Now, as always, guys, like this video on top of also subscribe and comment down below exactly what is your favorite book of all time. When you comment, okay, I want you to comment the title and on top of that also the genre. So is it fiction? It can be fiction. Is it based on personal finance, personal help, like whatever it is, like comment down below and let me know. This way I can read the favorite book that you actually had and potentially make a video on it too. Now, the first book is actually called Stolen Focus: Why You Can't Pay Attention and How to Think Deeply Again. And in this book, the author goes into detail about how he was facing an issue where he could not think deeply anymore, where he was on his phone like all the time in a sense, and he wanted to get away. And his solution was basically go into a remote area in a way where he wouldn't have that much access to internet and social media, and he wanted to run that experiment to see exactly what his life would actually be like. Now, he found out that his life was actually a lot more valuable in that sense, but he was basically disconnected from a lot of stuff at the same time. And a life like that, for the most part, is not actually sustainable, because you can disconnect from absolutely everything, but if at a certain point you go back, then what's the point? And also, society is actually connected in this way too. Now, by the way, when I first read this book, I was like, I'm going to uninstall everything. And then today, I'm back to having everything back on my phone, okay? And one thing for sure is, I have seasons with this book. There are seasons when I do great, and there are seasons when I don't do that great. And what I found out is basically there are some times when I'm on my phone for literally like 10 hours a day. Like my screen time says 10 hours, and I can't explain how do I spend so much time on a phone. And there are times when I'm like on my phone for 8 hours, for 6 hours, but I have not found a time where I can personally be on my phone for like 2 hours or 3 hours. My friend does it, and I don't know how he does it. But then there's a factor to it because he says, I'm not on my phone that often, but I am on my laptop, and that doesn't track my time, or I'm on my TV. So there's still like a connection with technology at that point. So there are some takeaways that I got from this book. I'm not sure it was actually this book per se, because I read some books on this stuff before, but it was like the 90-15 rule. It's like 90 minutes of focused work and 15 minutes of complete break time and rest. So when you're resting, you're completely resting, trying to maybe just like do something else around the house, but you're not on your phone thinking, you're just basically just resting. And you're 90 minutes on, and you can only do this for about like 3 to 4 sessions, because in reality, you can only really focus for like 4 hours a day, okay? On top of that, I've tried to schedule my life in a sense where in the mornings, I do the absolute hardest task I have to get done. This way, I'm not thinking about it later on in the day. And on top of that, also, I did this before and I stopped doing it, and I'm gonna have to start doing it again. And it's basically schedule your day with blocks for certain things. Okay, so if you're gonna be working, work. If you're gonna be playing, play, and schedule those things in. So something that actually works for me very good, but sometimes I stop doing, is basically use the first half of my day to basically work completely, and then the later half to basically play. And that means like socialize with my friends, and it means like towards the end of the night, maybe like watch an episode of an anime or a TV show or something like that, and that works great for me. But sometimes I stop doing it, and then I'm basically like, I catch myself basically working and playing at the same time, and that's not what you want to be doing. Now, book number 2 is called The Barefoot Investor. Now, this guy in a sense is actually my competition because he also has like a financial freedom, like little blueprint, and he talks about like how you can actually accomplish it. And I also have that too, okay? It's called The Financial Freedom Steps. The link is down below. But in this book, it's not like the author was so convincing that it forced me to take action, but this was the final book that I read on this topic that made me just have to take action. And that's why to me in my life is so memorable. In this book, he'll teach you about credit cards. He'll teach you how to save money. He'll teach you how to have conversations about money. He'll teach you a lot, even about insurance. And there is so much good information in this book. But the one thing that is so memorable to me is basically becoming debt free because of this book. He talks about like, you know, you having credit cards and playing this game is a choice. You have to choose to be debt free, to not play that game anymore, and to just close those credit cards. And that's exactly what I did. This was the book that just told me, hey, it's done. You can't continue anymore. Like, it's done, it's over. You've read so much information. Here's another piece of evidence right here. Like, why do you keep playing this stupid game? So after I finished this book, or during I read this book, basically, I went ahead and I closed down all of my credit cards. And I basically promised myself I'm not going to go back into credit card debt again or associate myself with it, trying to maintain a credit score, trying to build a credit score or whatever, because I know the truth is to buy a home, I can go into the bank, to look at my income, look at my bills, and based on that, they can lend me money. To buy a car, I can save up for the car in cash, and that basically is it. So I don't have a reason to be trying to chase points, to be trying to use a credit card, or any of that information, okay? So that's the most memorable thing about this book, that it helped me take that action and helped me take that step. Now, number 3 is going to be Stop Acting Rich by Thomas J. Stanley. I will never forget this guy's name, and he actually passed away in a car accident. But I read also The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley. But it was one of those books that when I read it, it changed my life forever, man, because at the time, I was acting like I was rich in a sense, like, you know, buying fancy clothes and dressing a certain way and spending money on this and that. And then I realized like what I really care about is financial freedom. So who should I be actually be trying to model? And there are the people that are basically financially free. And the people I was trying to model, which was the people on social media and the people that were celebrities, those people aren't usually financially free. They just have a lot of money and are able to spend a lot more money. But it doesn't mean, for example, that they have enough to actually sustain themselves because their lifestyle is madness. And I realized that it didn't make any sense to do that anymore. I realized that a lot of my goals and ambitions, it came from the marketing tactic. And when he told me, Jay Stanley, in this book, he was like, hey, the average millionaire, they buy a home that's actually pretty decent, not that expensive. They buy normal cars like Toyotas and Corollas. They're not spending money on jewelry and expensive watches and none of that nonsense. They dress very normal. Sometimes they buy suits at a discount. You know, when I read that book, he kind of gave me an entire profile on what a millionaire actually is, what a financially free person actually is, and their values. And it was definitely not even close to what I was actually doing. And it kind of forced me to go ahead and start modeling myself with these people to actually have better values in a sense, and actually helped me out a lot, okay? So it's one of those books I owe a lot of character financially to, because it helped me out a lot with that. Now, book number 4 is actually the Bible. And not just the Bible by itself, but the Bible along with some great men like R.C. Sproul, John MacArthur, John Piper. And these are men that actually helped me, and also my pastors and the discipleship program in my church. Like, all these things just helped me out a ton. And all these people helped me out a ton when it came to understand the Bible and doctrine, which is basically the beliefs of the church. And I say that because the Bible told me who I am, why I exist, who made me, who that person is, who God is, what his character is, why I'm here for. And it kind of answered, not kind of, it did answer those big life questions for me. And when I started to study the Bible in a lot of ways, I started to find out a lot more about myself, and it just changed my life forever. You know, I won't say, for example, like, oh, I had all these worldly ambitions and they kind of just like dropped completely. Although in a sense, like, they kind of did in a way. Like once I understood, like, hey, this is what life is actually about. Here's how things actually work, and here are my beliefs, and here's why I actually believe it, and so on, based on the Bible, and it's actually like the authority and so on. So reading the Bible, which is 66 books, is divided into the Old Testament and the New Testament. It has some letters in there by the Apostle Paul, and it has just a wide amount of wisdom. When I started to read the Bible, I've read, no joke, I think like over like 200 books potentially. I'm not even sure. But when I started to read the Bible, I realized that all of the information I've ever gotten was already in the Bible in some way or somehow, or something like that, okay? It was always in the Bible, whether it came to money, whether it came to life, whether it came to relationship, whether it came to figure myself out. Like all that information was just in the Bible. Now, I don't mean just reading the Bible as another book, because it's not just another book, right? And I don't mean like reading the Bible in the sense of like I just want to accomplish like this worldview and look at the world in a different way, but I mean like in a spiritual way in a sense, okay? And that basically means you read your Bible, you go to church, you try to understand the Bible, understand God, who He is, and so on. Like that changed my life forever. Joining a church that actually helped me out with that changed my life forever. Giving my life to Jesus changed my life forever, and it's made my life a lot better. Now, number 5 is actually the 4-hour work week. Before I read this book, I was so focused on maximizing the amount of money I could possibly make, and I was willing to make more money by spending more time basically doing it. And I didn't see anything wrong with that. And most people probably don't, right? They're like, well, that's how you basically do it, right? You make more money by spending more time. And then I figured out that if you know exactly what you want and how much it's going to cost you, and you're able to basically do the things that are actually important in your job and basically export everything else or just delegate everything else, you're able to save a bunch of time and still make somewhere around the same amount of money and still have a lot more enjoyment out of life. And that's what basically the 4-hour work week basically did to me. And when you read this book, and you read a lot more books in the past, you see everything kind of just come put together in a sense. You know, you see the 80-20 rule. You see, for example, the art of delegation. You see how to be a manager, how to manage your personal finances. You see what things are very important in life. But overall, you read these books, you take action, and it helps you in some way. But it's not to say like these books, for example, are like the outline to everything, except for the Bible, of course. But these books are very valuable to me. And in some way, they made an impact in my life to take a certain action that changed my life forever. And that's why I have them on this list. But to me, my favorite books of all time, as people know, like the Bible is one of them for sure. Also, for example, The Richest Man in Babylon, and also one of the first books I basically read on finance, which is basically The Secrets of the Mind of a Millionaire by Edgar T. Hart. Like those are my favorite books in a sense, and some of them actually have so much value, like the Bible. But these books right here, the action in them, man, that if you take action, it can help you out so much. So that's why I recommend them here. Comment down below exactly what are your favorite books, why they are, who wrote them. I know I didn't put, for example, like the title of the authors, but I'll make sure to put the book here with the title of the author and everything else too, so this way you know exactly where to find them. All right, thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified. Up here to another video. Over to my face. As always, long-term team officially out.